Well, what a fun day in terms of South African politics, yet again. But before I get on to the main video, can I yet again remind you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And if you'd like to support the work that I do here, you're welcome to buy me a coffee if you haven't already. And if you have bought me a coffee, well, shop. That's great. Thank you very much. So let's get straight on to the news story. Well, first one is, so Lesotho. If you guys don't recall, Lesotho was the country that Donald Trump said, does anybody even know where it is? It's like some despot in Africa somewhere, he said. Anyway, the small kingdom of Lesotho is getting Starlink before South Africa. Lesotho grants Starlink a license. Yet again, I'm reminded that Elon Musk cannot get Starlink in South Africa because of BEE rules. Let that sink in. Zimbabwe has it. Mozambique has it, Lesotho has it, but South Africa doesn't. Anyway, talking of massive fails, on Monday I did a video about Mr. Jonas, who was appointed the new Special Envoy to the United States. Now, at the end of that video, I did actually draw an allusion to it would really help you if you didn't go abroad, having already called Donald Trump racist and all sorts of other things. And part of the reason that I made that comment at the end of it was because of the allegation that the former Deputy Finance Minister had in 2020 basically issued a video where he called Trump a racist and a homophobe and, all the other stuff. And in typical format, he did it at the Hamid whatever lecture that they usually do, celebrating, whatever. And again, for those of you who don't recall, Jonas happened to call Donald Trump a narcissistic right-winger who apparently was looking to use race as a presidential bid because he was racist and homophobic and all sorts of other allegations. Now, as I've said already, if you're going to go abroad and you're going to go represent the country and mend the diplomatic relations between South Africa and the United States, a good way to do that would be to go there clean. And this isn't a good way to do that. Now, very interesting. The former houseboy of the EFF in Glose actually said that given this video, Jonas might not actually be the best person to send to the US. And that potentially he was actually worse than the previous one. The one that got kicked out, persona non grata. Yeah, he's worse than him. And apparently he would actually embarrass the country again if he got there and he was rejected. And so one has to ask the question, what the hell is really going on here? But one has to remind ourselves of something. This individual is going there to be a trade envoy. He's going there to be a special envoy. As I said in my video, he's going there basically to drum up economic interest in the country. He's not technically going to be an ambassador in order to improve the relationship between the US and South Africa. Yes, whilst he's there, he will attempt to do that. He will attempt to create good relations with the Trump administration. That's not actually his sole job. He's not going there on a diplomatic mission. He's a special envoy. And it's important to remember that. But in any case, it's interesting that whenever the ANC tends to regurgitate somebody, this individual, whoever they are, who gets nominated for insert job here, always has some kind of checkered past, doesn't matter what it is. And this guy himself, Jonas, was selected because he was supposedly a good guy. He was one of the lads. He was a guy who stood up against state capture. And so, as I said in my video, he was allegedly one of the good guys. And even the good guys ain't that good. And I guess going on to ain't that good, let's now talk about moron, because apparently moron, also known as Aaron, the health minister, has basically lambasted African leaders for constantly seeking treatment abroad. Now, this is obviously in line with the fact that all the African leaders seek treatment abroad in Western countries. They go to foreign Western countries to get any of their treatment. Mugabe was famous for it. He got all of his treatments in Singapore, as an example. David Mabuza, when he was sick, he went to Russia and he got treatment there. And this becomes interesting because in terms of Africa, we keep pushing these like nationalized health services, like in South Africa with the NHI. But when anything ever goes wrong, a lot of these leaders are the first to run abroad and seek treatment from elsewhere, whether it be from America or Britain or Australia or wherever else. And none of them actually seek treatments in their national home states, because usually the national government destroys, absolutely obliterates the national government. And then, lo and behold, when their own hospital services and the infrastructure is all dead and their people are living in squalor, they themselves go and get treatment abroad. And I think this article is timely because this is exactly what people are predicting will happen with NHI in South Africa. And we all know it's going to happen because it's happened how many other times in Africa? We are not going to be the exception. We are not the exception to the rule. It happened everywhere. This is exactly why NHI is a disaster. In any case, talking of a disaster, for those of you who also don't know, the weekend, I covered this in yesterday's video, Malema took a swipe at Donald Trump when Donald Trump said he wasn't going to be coming to the G20. Now, his answer for that was because of the genocide allegations. Now, it's important to remember that South Africa is on the international radar for the genocide allegations against white Afrikaners and white farmers and so forth. And it's important to remember that the ANC government are retarded, so they keep thinking that somehow it's the fault of AfriForum, but it's not. The actual person who's at fault for all of this is actually Julius Malema, because he's the one who goes on social media and he pushes forward all the singing of the Kill the Boer songs and all his rhetoric against white Afrikaners and so forth and so forth. And the reality is that those videos get seen around the world hundreds of millions of times, like hundreds of millions of times. And the problem is that many people see those videos and think it's the reality of, well, life in South Africa. And you would be forgiven for thinking that, because this is a leader of a political party, was the third largest political party, is now the fourth largest political party. And to a large degree, it's a leader of a party that never seems to get prosecuted for anything he does wrong, which gives credence to the idea that possibly he has some form of political power that others can't quite understand. So he seems like he would be a very influential party to doesn't matter who, when they see it online out in the world. And you see it on lotuseaters.com where they give him lots of airtime, and Tucker Carlson refers to it, and Elon Musk refers to it. And the reality is that Malema himself is one of the main persons who are promulgating this idea that there's a white genocide going on against South African farmers. He also is the main instigator of this idea that there's wholesale land confiscation, because Malema keeps calling for it online on social media. Now, the problem is that social media isn't really life. And Twitter, X, certainly isn't real life. I mean, if Twitter was, then Julius Malema would be the de facto dictator of South Africa instead of a 5% party leader, which is what he is. Now, the reality is that Malema is like a vorsoinki. He's the small little dog that's got the really big bark with a small little body. And so as a result of this, Kenny Kunene has come out and said on social media that Donald Trump should ignore him, and he shouldn't base his foreign policy on South Africa based on the utterances of Julius Malema. According to Kenny Kunene, Julius Malema is a small boy and he should be ignored because life is not social media. And so Donald Trump should come to South Africa in order to see the reality on his ground. And in this instance, everything that Kenny says is spot on. It's smack bang on the nose. Because Donald Trump is known to do a lot of his politics from what he sees on social media. He believes what he sees on social media and he interprets that as being the truth. Because as we know, Donald Trump claims that there's a lot of fake news in the news outlets. So you can't always believe what the news outlets are saying to you. Sometimes it's better just to do your own independent research on Twitter and X. But when it comes through to the EFF leader, the cult of personality means that it's pushed in such a way that it distorts the reality of life. And so Donald Trump himself is basing a lot of his political positions based on what he's seeing on X around the utterances of, quote unquote, the small boy. And according to Kenny Kunene, Trump shouldn't do that. He should come to South Africa, meet with the government on the ground, meet with the political parties and judge for himself. And with that being said, I actually agree with everything that Kenny Kunene says. And you can let me know what you think in the comment section below. So on to the very final news article of today, and actually a really important one. This is the order that South Africa has given to the Taiwan Embassy to move. Basically, they've told them to move their liaison office to Johannesburg in recognition of the UN's resolution on the One China policy. Because apparently, according to Ronald Lamola, South Africa believes the People's Republic of China's sovereignty over Taiwan, and that Taiwan is part of the Republic of China. And so because of that, they've told the Taiwan liaison office to move out of Pretoria, but the Taiwan liaison office has refused to do so. According to them, they shouldn't be made to move, and that they are in the right place, which is where all the international organizations should be housed. But you see, what the South African government's telling them to do is to move out of the administrative capital, which is, it's all symbolic. They you got to move out of there and move to a lesser jurisdiction. In this instance, well, Johannesburg rather than Pretoria. And the reason for doing that is because South Africa is not going to recognize Taiwan as its own entity. And so it shouldn't be in the capital where other individual entities are housed. This isn't going to improve your relationship with the Americans at all. And I think it's so interesting that a lot of the talk is about improving the relationship with the United States. Kenny Kunene says, come and judge it yourself. We're debating who we send through as our ambassador and our liaisons and so forth. And then we go and we do things that are going to anger the United States. To appease what? Where's this pressure coming from? I don't actually have the answer for that. Is it just a bid to placate China and go, oh, we like you, so you should do more with us? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until tomorrow, bye.